The alarms hit at 0347 hours GMT. Colonel David Park's boots pound against concrete as he races through the underground corridors of Earth Defense Command. The facility buried beneath Cheyenne Mountain hasn't seen this level of activity since the last nuclear close call. Red lights strobe across blast doors as Park barges through checkpoint after checkpoint. His mind is already cataloging possibilities: asteroid impact, nuclear launch, or first contact. General Morrison says as Park bursts into the Situation Room, and it's not friendly. The main screen fills with horror. Park watches alien ships methodically destroying a planet, beams of superheated plasma carving continents like a Thanksgiving turkey. The image shifts: another world, this one dying under kinetic bombardment. Then another, and another. How long has this been playing? Park asks, his analytical mind already working. 3 hours, Morrison replies. It's on every frequency, every satellite, every... Wait. Park holds up a hand, moving closer to the screen. A massive dreadnought fires its main gun, and in the bloom of plasma discharge, Park sees a flicker. A pattern. Can you play that segment? Colonel, we're watching the end of civilizations here, and... Which is exactly why we need to replay ET. Park's fingers fly across his tablet, mirroring to the main display. There. Watch the plasma cannon's cycle rate. The weapon fires again. Park starts counting under his breath. His Korean grandmother's lessons about pattern recognition flood back. She had survived occupation by memorizing Japanese patrol schedules. Same principle, different scale. 17 seconds, Park announces. Their main guns take 17 seconds to cycle. Every single time. The room falls silent, except for the sounds of extinction playing on repeat. Give me a tech team, Park orders, his tablet already filling with notes. And someone find me a physicist who isn't having a panic attack. We just got handed the most comprehensive intelligence briefing in military history. Aboard the Council Dreadnought Inevitable Truth, Fleet Commander Thocknell observes the primitive world's communications with deep satisfaction. His 6 eye stalks swivel independently, tracking data streams across the bridge's displays. Earth, such an inefficient name for a planet, buzzes with panicked transmissions. The warning has been received, Subcommander Krian reports, his smaller form differing appropriately. Their communication network shows extreme distress patterns, as expected. Thocknell's primary voice sac inflates with authority. Begin the ritual of concluded conquest. The bridge crew rises, their chittering harmonies filling the command space with ancient celebration. 3,847 species have received this warning. All have either surrendered within one planetary rotation or been reduced to stellar debris. The ritual commemorates another victory. Their military capabilities. Thocknell inquires, though he already knows the answer will be amusing. Krian manipulates the tactical display. Chemical rockets for space flight. Kinetic projectiles for primary armament. Crude fission weapons in limited quantities. They haven't even achieved sustainable fusion. And their response time based on previous species of similar development. Krian performs rapid calculations. 3 cycles for complete surrender. 5 at most if they attempt negotiation. Thocknell's feeding appendages twitch in what his species considers laughter. Set course for the staging area. Standard deployment pattern. We'll be home before the tight feast. The inevitable truth turns with ponderous grace, its escort fleet falling into perfect formation. 4,000 years of conquest have honed their movements to algorithmic precision. No variables. No surprises. No species has ever required a second warning. 6 hours after first contact, Park has transformed Conference Room 7 into a war room. The Joint Chiefs sit around the table, their faces ranging from shell-shocked to furious. On the screens, Park's presentation dissects 3 hours of genocide. Frame 1,847. His laser pointer traces a nimbus around an alien fighter. Note the shield distortion during atmospheric entry. The field oscillates at regular intervals here, here, and here. Frequency bleeding at predictable points. Major Travis Mitchell, Park's second in command, translates from his position against the wall. His Texas drawl cuts through the tension. What the colonel is saying is that their shield's got a timing gap. Like a boxing defense. Hands can't be everywhere at once. Frame 2,293. Park advances the footage. The ground assault plays out. Six-legged warriors in powered armor sweeping through what might have been a school. Watch their movement pattern. Always bearing left through doorways. Always. Their armor has a sensor blind spot on the right side. Admiral Micah interrupts. Colonel, we're watching the extinction of entire species, and you're taking notes. I'm taking notes because we're watching extinctions, Admiral. Park pulls up a new slide. A graph showing industrial output comparisons. Every species they've shown us, pre-industrial or barely spacefaring. Limited manufacturing base. Centralized populations. But look at Earth's numbers. The graph tells a story of distributed chaos. Factories on every continent. 68 countries with independent military production. A population that treats paranoia as a survival trait. They've never fought anyone who could build 1 million rifles in a month, Park continues. Or retrofit car factories into tank plants in weeks. Or. The president's voice cuts through the briefing via secure link. How long, Colonel? How long do you need to mount a defense? Park's already done the calculations. Retooling factories, training crews, building ships from scratch. 6 months minimum, Madam President. 8 would be better. The astronomical data shows that they'll be here in 4. The room erupts. Voices overlap. Suggestions of negotiation, nuclear first strikes, evacuation plans that everyone knows are fantasy. Park lets them rage for exactly 30 seconds, then slams his tablet on the table. We have 4 months to build a military designed to fight one specific enemy. An enemy that just showed us exactly how they fight. He brings up the final slide, Earth's industrial heartland, already mobilizing. They think they might be scaring us with this warning. They are actually teaching us how to kill them. Dr. Yuri Volkov arrives at Area 51 at sunset, his ancient Lades engine coughing its last as he parks between 2 black SUVs. The Russian physicist looks like he slept in his clothes, which he has, having driven straight from Los Alamos after Park's call. Dr. Volkov, a lieutenant, waits at the gate. Colonel Park is expecting you. There we do, E.T. Volkov lights a cigarette, ignoring the no-smoking signs. Though I should mention, my expertise is in weapons that violate treaties, not aliens. The expanded facility buzzes with activity. 3 hangars have been cleared and converted into the Xenological Warfare Division, a name Park coined on the fly and the Pentagon approved in record time. Inside Hangar 2, wall-sized screens display the Council's greatest hits on loop. Ah, Colonel Park. Volkov extends a nicotine-stained hand. I see you've started the party without me. Dr. Volkov. Park gestures to the screens. Tell me what you see. Volkov studies the footage, ash dropping unnoticed from his cigarette. A plasma beam vaporizes a city, and he leans forward, Revins, watches again. On the 7th viewing, he laughs, a harsh sound that makes nearby technicians nervous. Idiots are using magnetic bottles. He's at the screen now, drawing directly on it with a marker, his cigarette forgotten between his lips. Look! Helical containment pattern. You see how the plasma spirals? They are using tokamak principles but with reversed polarity. Can we stop it? Volkov's grin could strip paint. Stop it, Colonel? We could make them blow up their own guns. He's already at a whiteboard, equations flowing in Cyrillic annotated mathematics. Their plasma requires specific magnetic frequencies to maintain coherence. Disrupt the frequency. He draws an explosion with a flourish. Boom. Backfire into their own ships. How do we disrupt it? Ceramic composite with embedded metallic lattice. When the plasma hits, the lattice creates interference patterns. Volkov grabs a welding torch from a confused technician. Here. I show you. Within minutes, he's fabricated a crude test piece. A torch flame, a primitive plasma analog, hits the surface and spreads harmlessly, its energy dissipating in brilliant but harmless light. Now, Volkov says, admiring his work, we make billion pieces. 3 weeks after first contact, Thocknell reviews intelligence reports with growing puzzlement. The expected patterns aren't manifesting. No mass suicides. No governmental collapse. No desperate attempts at negotiation. Subcommander, he summons Krian. Explain these readings. Krian's eye stalks droop, a sign of uncertainty. Fleet Commander, the humans appear to be mobilizing, not for evacuation, but for production. The tactical display fills with satellite imagery. Every industrial facility on their planet has shifted to continuous operation. Military forces are conducting non-stop exercises. New orbital installations are under construction. Toknal's primary arm dismisses the data. Terror response. They built weapons to feel control, even knowing such weapons are useless. We've seen this pattern of behavior in 17% of ward species. With respect, Fleet Commander. Krian pulls up specific images. Human soldiers navigating mock corridors, their movements precisely countering Council sweep patterns. They're training to fight us specifically. US. Impossible. They've had no contact with Council forces. They've had the warning, Fleet Commander. 3 hours of our combat procedures. Toknal's eye stalks go rigid, his species, equivalent of narrowed ice. But 4,000 years of precedent speak louder than one junior officer's concerns. Continue monitoring. Alert me to any actual developments. Krian withdraws, but continues his analysis. Something is different about these humans. Their response doesn't fit any established pattern. And patterns, as the Council knows, are everything. 2 months after first contact, Detroit. Park stands on the factory floor, watching history roll off the assembly line. The M3A7 Council Killer main battle tank represents 2 months of frantic development. Its angular hull is covered in Volkov's antiplasma ceramic, while the turret sports a railgun specifically calibrated to punch through Council hull composites. She's beautiful, isn't she? Mitchell runs a hand along the armor. Volkov says the ceramic will disperse plasma across the whole surface, turn a kill shot into a light show. And the railgun. Muzzle velocity of Mach 12 tungsten penetrators with a ferrous core. Based on the hull composition we saw in the footage, it should punch through their armor like tissue paper. Around them, the factory hums with purpose. Workers pull triple shifts, sleeping in break rooms, living on caffeine and determination. The same scene plays out across the planet. Chinese factories producing disruption warheads. Brazilian shipyards launching patrol craft. European facilities manufacturing powered armor based on Council weaknesses. Park drafts Earth's response on his tablet, choosing each word carefully. To the Galactic Council, Earth acknowledges receipt of your comprehensive tactical education materials. Your detailed demonstrations of combat procedures, weapon capabilities, and strategic doctrine have proved invaluable to our defensive preparations. We thank you for this generous gift of intelligence. Zinsaili, the United Earth Defense Force. You really going to send that? Mitchell asks, reading over his shoulder. They expect fear or defiance. So let's give them confusion. Park hits send. Besides, it's the only polite way to say thank you. Thocknell receives Earth's transmission during the contemplation of victory, a daily ritual where he reviews past conquests. His translator struggles with the message, running it through multiple interpretation algorithms. They express gratitude. The communications officer's voice sacs flutter in confusion. For the warning. Repeat the translation. The message plays again. And again. Each iteration confirms the impossible. Earth has thanked them for showing how they destroy civilizations. Summon the command staff, Thocknell orders, his earlier certainty cracking like faulty armor. Within minutes, his senior officers assemble. The message plays on the main display. Each word a violation of 4,000 years of precedent. Analysis, Fagnal demands. Krieg steps forward, data tablet in hand. Earth's industrial output has increased 400% in 2 months. Their military hardware shows specific adaptations to counter our capabilities. The tactical display fills with human innovations. Tanks with anti-plasma armor. Aircraft designed to exploit Council fighter blind spots. Naval vessels carrying railguns calibrated to Council shield frequencies. They're using our warning as a technical manual, Krieg concludes. Every weapon we demonstrated, they've developed counters for. Every tactic we showed, they've created responses for. Impossible. Toknal's voice sax boom. No species possesses such adaptive capability. The humans appear to be an exception, Fleet Commander. Fagnal studies the data, his perfect record crumbling in his mindestens. These primitives haven't just refused to surrender, they've transformed a psychological weapon into practical intelligence. Accelerate our deployment, he orders. Maximum thrust to their system. We crush them before this disease of defiance spreads. Fleet Commander, his navigation officer protests. Maximum thrust will stress our drives. Protocol dictates. I am protocol. Fagnal's decision resonates through the fleet. Ready all weapons. Prepare for contested arrival. These humans want to fight the Galactic Council? Let them learn why we have never lost a war. Park's command center has evolved into Earth's central nervous system. Screens cover every wall, displaying real-time data from across the planet. The coffee maker hasn't stopped running in 6 weeks. Update from Beijing, a technician calls out. Factory Complex 7 just hit their 1000th disruption warhead. Tel Aviv reports a successful test of the electronic warfare package, another adds. 90% success rate jamming Council targeting frequencies. Park moves between stations, processing information and issuing orders. On his main screen, a global map shows humanity's transformation. Green dots mark completed defense installations. Blue indicates retrofitted factories. Red shows combat training facilities running Council scenarios. Mitchell enters with a tablet. There's something you need to see, Colonel. North and South Korea just announced joint military exercises. Well, the Council threat achieved what 100 years of diplomacy couldn't. Park allows himself a thin smile. What's their focus? Ambush tactics. They're using Council urban combat footage to design kill zones. Turns out our cities, chaotic layouts are an advantage. Council forces always move in predictable patterns through structured environments. Park's grandmother would appreciate the irony. She had survived Japanese occupation by memorizing protocol schedules, turning their discipline against them. Now, he's applying her lessons to creatures from beyond the stars. Tsuya. The communications officer's voice carries urgency. Detecting massive tachyon signatures. They're speeding up. They're scared. Park hits the general alert. All stations, this is command. Council forces arriving ahead of schedule. I say again, Council forces arriving early. All units to ready positions. The command center explodes into controlled chaos. 60 days early meant 60 days less preparation. But it also meant something else. Earth had genuinely frightened the Galactic Council. Mitchell, implement Matador Protocol. It's time to see if our homework really paid off. 3 months after contact. Nevada Desert, Underground Bunker 12. Volkov hasn't slept in 48 hours, fueled by caffeine, nicotine, pharmaceutical-grade methamphetamine, and the pure joy of solving an impossible problem. Before him sits his masterpiece, a warhead that shouldn't exist. Explain it again, Park says, studying the device with professional interest. Slowly. Just pretend I didn't fail physics. It is simple. Volkov's hands dance as he talks. Council shields operate on harmonic frequencies, yes? So every energy weapon creates a delta resonance. We combat footage, we see this, yes? So we create opposing resonance. Cancel their frequency with our frequency. Shield doesn't just fail, it inverts. Turns their own protection into a bomb. And you're certain this will work? Certain? No. But physics is physics. Even for aliens. Da. Volkov lights another cigarette, ignoring radiation warnings. With this, now. The test target, a replica of Council armor based on video analysis, sits in the blast chamber. Volkov's warhead launches, a simple rocket carrying desperate science. Impact. The explosion tears through barriers rated for nuclear blasts. The observation bunker shakes. When the dust clears, nothing remains of the target except molecular vapor. Volkov whispers, "It works." Then Luda, the shield amplified the blast. "I am a genius." Park's already calculating. "How many can you build?" With full production? Tens. Tons of tens. Volkov grins through the smoke. We turn their invincibility into their funeral pyre. Krieg studies the data with growing alarm. Earth's adaptation hasn't just continued, it's accelerated. His tactical displays show human forces conducting exercises that perfectly counter Council doctrine. Fleet Commander, he approaches Thaknol carefully. "I must present disturbing findings." "Speak." Earth's new fleet incorporates precise counters to our weapons. Observe, heat sinks positioned at our typical plasma impact points. Armor thickness varied to match our own penetration depths. Point defense calibrated to our fighter speeds. The evidence is undeniable. Every human ship bristles with purpose-built weapons. Not general defenses, but specific counters to Council technology. Furthermore, Krieg continues, their ground forces train exclusively in anti-Council tactics. Boarding teams drill on ship layouts matching our standard configurations. Fighter pilots practice maneuvers that break our target locks. "Show me," Thaknol demands. The display shifts to human combat exercises. Marines navigate mock corridors, placing breaching charges at exact structural weak points. Tank crews exploit the 17-second reload gap. Fighter pilots spiral through maneuvers that Council targeting systems can't track. They're not preparing for war, Krieg concludes. They're preparing for a war with us. Specifically and exclusively. Thaknol's eye stalks swivel through emotions his species rarely experiences, each one rotating independently before snapping into rigid parallel alignment: uncertainty, concern, and buried deepest, fear. His feeding appendages retracted completely into his thorax, an involuntary response his kind hasn't shown since they were prey animals in their primordial oceans. "Double our thrust," he orders. "Burn the drives if necessary." These humans have done the impossible. They have turned our warning into weapons. But still, they face the might of the Galactic Council. No species has withstood our full assault. Fleet Commander, Krieg ventures carefully, perhaps, negotiation. No. We are the Council. We do not negotiate with primitives. Toknal's voice sacks thunder. Ready all weapons. Prepare for immediate combat upon arrival. If these humans have learned to counter our standard tactics, we will show them why the Council has conquered for 4 millennia. But as his fleet burns toward Earth at dangerous speeds, Thaknol can't silence the whisper of doubt. In 4,000 years, no species has ever said thank you. What else might these humans do that no species has done before? 1 month before revised Council arrival. Lunar shipyards. Park floats in zero gravity, watching humanity's answer to extinction take shape. The EDS Stalingrad isn't pretty, a cargo hauler's hull wrapped in armor, bristling with all manner of cobbled-together weapons. But she's built to kill Council ships, and that's all that matters. Ugly as homemade sin, Mitchell comments over the comps. Around the Stalingrad, Earth's fleet assembles. Passenger liners converted to missile platforms. Mining ships mounting railguns. Freight runners transformed into fighters. Each design exploits weaknesses revealed in the Council's warning. Sua, the shipyard commander, approaches. The Stalingrad is ready for trials. You ought to give her a shakedown. Let's see what she can donastak. The trials exceed expectations. Volkov's armor shrugs off plasma simulations. Railguns punch through target drones at ranges Council doctrine says are impossible. Point defense systems track fighters moving at Council attack speeds. How many ships are operational? Pak asks. 47 combat ready. Another 30 in 2 weeks. Not enough. Not nearly enough. But each ship is designed to punch above its weight, built with one purpose, killing Council vessels. Mitchell joins Pak at the viewport. Remember the Alamo? 189 defenders against thousands. Pak nods. They lost. Yeah, but they made Santa Ana pay for every inch. And Houston learned from their sacrifice. Mitchell gestures at Earth's small fleet. Maybe we can't win. But we can make them bleat. Show the galaxy that they're not gods. Upload all combat recordings to emergency broadcast beacons, Pak orders. If we fall, we are taking their reputation with us. Thaknol's fleet exits hyperspace like an avalanche of metal and malice. 2 weeks early, drives screaming from abuse, but intact. The Council has arrived to deliver judgment. Report, Thaknol demands. Multiple contacts, his sensor officer's voice sacs flutter in confusion. Detecting minds. The human. Approach vectors impossible. Those vectors are classified Council safe zones, established by 4,000 years of protocol. No species should. The first explosions silence his thoughts. Proximity mines, crude but effective, tear into his elite destroyers. Shields flare and die in cascading rainbow patterns as Volkov's disruption warheads find their marks. The view screen whites out from the glare, leaving purple afterimages in Thaknol's vision. Evasive action. Launch all fighters. Fighter screens launch, but are instantly met by human fighters. Not sleek, high-tech craft, but converted industrial vehicles and cobbled-together interceptors. But they are fast, maneuverable, and armed with railguns that shred Council point defenses. Human defenses aren't general, they are specific. They target the helical containment patterns. They exploit the 17-second cycle rate. They maneuver into the right-side blind spots. Fleet Commander, Krieg reports, his voice steady despite the chaos. The humans, they are anticipating our moves. They target our weak points before we even expose them. They are cheating. Toknal Roas. They cannot know our tactics. They watched the warning, Fleet Commander. Krieg points to the display, where human forces are executing maneuvers that perfectly counter the Council's standard assault patterns. They learned. Thaknol watches, his shock turning to a cold, creeping dread. The human forces are moving with an coordination and purpose that shouldn't be possible for a species that only just discovered faster-than-light travel. They're not just fighting, they're dissecting the Council's military doctrine, using their own tactics against them. This cannot stand, Thaknol snarls, his multiple voices overlapping. Full assault. Crush them. The battle rages, a spectacle of destruction around Luna. Earth's fleet, composed of retrofitted mining ships, commercial haulers, and hastily constructed warships, meets the Council's forces head-on. The EDS Stalingrad, the bulky cargo ship-turned-warship, leads the charge, its railguns punching through alien shields and hulls with devastating precision. Volkov's anti-plasma ceramic armor absorbs and dissipates the Council's plasma beams, turning what should be kill shots into harmless light shows. Pak coordinates the defense from Cheyenne Mountain, his eyes glued to the tactical display. Matador protocol is working. The humans are exploiting the Council's strict adherence to doctrine, turning their predictability into their doom. Every 17 seconds, Earth's ships capitalize on the alien dreadnought's weapon cycle time, firing disruption warheads that turn their shields into destructive explosions. Mitchell's team has boarded the destroyer, an officer calls out. Switching to helmet cam. The main screen shifts to the perspective of Major Mitchell as he and his Marines board a Council vessel. They move through the alien ship with practiced efficiency, their knowledge of Council ship layouts, derived from the warning footage, giving them a crucial advantage. They bypass automated defenses, taking out alien crew members with purpose-built kinetic weapons, and place breaching charges on critical systems. Demo set, Mitchell reports. Pulling back. The Council destroyer, the unrelenting force, explodes from within, its own systems collapsing under the well-placed human charges. The certainty of Council victory begins to waver. Their perfect record, built on millennia of conquest, is crumbling against a species that refuses to succumb. But the cost is heavy. Human ships are being destroyed, entire crews lost to the sheer power of the alien fleet. Millions of people are dead, the planet scarred by orbital bombardment. They just won't stop coming, Morrison says, his voice strained. We're holding, but they're still advancing. They're hesitating, Pak observes, pointing to a cluster of Council ships that have pulled back from the main line. They're not used to this. They're not used to an enemy that fights back like this. The communications officer's voice cuts through the tension. Incoming transmission from the Council flagship. They're requesting communication. On the screen, Thaknol appears, his alien features contorted in a mixture of anger and disbelief. Humans, he begins, his multiple voices creating an ominous echo. You have defied the will of the Galactic Council. Your actions are futile. Surrender, and your extinction will be quick. Pak steps forward, his gaze meeting the alien commanders. Fleet Commander Thaknol, if that is your name. You seem surprised. Your species is arrogant, Thaknol retorts. You believe you can stand against the might of the Galactic Council. We have conquered countless worlds. And we've seen how, Pak replies, his voice calm but firm. Thank you for the detailed briefing. The alien commander's eye stalks narrow. You mock the Council. We thank the Council, Pak continues. Your warning taught us everything we needed to know about fighting you. We know your weapon systems, your shield capabilities, your standard troop movements, your ship layouts. Every blind spot, every predictable pattern. We studied your entire military doctrine, and we've designed our defense specifically to counter ET. A silence falls on the alien bridge. Krian looks from his commander to the tactical display, the truth of Park's words evident in the burning wreckage of Council ships. The galaxy is watching, Fleet Commander, Pak adds, gesturing to the transmission screen. We've been broadcasting this battle live. Every species you've threatened, every civilization you've destroyed, is witnessing your defeat. The image of Council invincibility is dying today. This cannot be, Thaknol mutters, his many voices fading to a whisper. Pak continues, driving the point home. We're not just broadcasting the battle. We're transmitting our technical specifications for all our adaptive weapons. The formula for the ceramic armor, the schematics for the disruption warheads, the railgun configurations. Consider it Earth's gift to the galaxy. Krian approaches his commander. Fleet Commander, the human speaks truth. The transmission is widespread. Our standard doctrine has become public knowledge. Every species will now be able to prepare for us. The warning, Thaknol whispers, realization dawning on him. It was our greatest psychological weapon, and now it is the key to our destruction. Toknai's feeding appendages fully retract into his thorax, a sign of extreme stress. His perfect record, the 4,000 years of conquest, all undone by a primitive species that simply said thank you. The human fleet continues to advance, their improvised ships showing unexpected resilience and firepower. Each loss Earth suffers only seems to fuel their determination. And all the while, the galaxy watches, learning the Council's weaknesses. Options are limited. Continue the assault and risk total annihilation of the fleet, or withdraw and retreat, sacrificing the image of invincibility. Thaknol looks from the tactical display to the human commander's determined face, the weight of his decision heavy on him. Withdraw, he orders, his voice sacs barely producing a sound. Immediate departure. Wait. Pak calls out, stopping the transmission. You forgot something, Commander. Toknai's eye stalks swivel towards Pak. What warning will you give the next species? A look of dawning horror appears on Thaknol's face. The very question highlights the magnitude of his defeat. He will have to decide between sending a warning that will only teach another enemy how to kill them, or abandoning a tradition that has defined the Council for 4 millennia. The Galactic Council's retreat is not as graceful as their arrival. Ships, damaged and broken, struggle to enter hyperspace, leaving behind debris and technology that will only further Earth's adaptive capabilities. On Cheyenne Mountain, a collective sigh of relief ripples through the Situation Room. They had survived. They had won. Park stands by the view screen, his gaze fixed on the retreating alien fleet. The battle was won, but the war was far from over. He knew the Council would return, more powerful, more adaptable. But Earth had learned their lesson. They had learned to adapt, to innovate, to fight. As the last of the Council ships disappear from the tactical display, Park turns to Mitchell. Let's get back to work. We have a galaxy to prepare. The communications officer's voice cracks with wonder. Sir, we're receiving messages. Encrypted messages. Dozens of them. They're thanking us. Alle Anfragen nach unseren Kampfdaten annehmen, befiehlt Park. Open Source für alle. Jede Taktik, jede Waffe, jede Schwachstelle, die wir gefunden haben. Der Rat hat uns gelehrt, wie man ihn bekämpft, und jetzt lehren wir es die Galaxie. Mitchell tritt ein, seine Rüstung noch immer von Brandspuren gezeichnet. 3 erbeutete Zerstörer sind gesichert. Volkows Team nimmt sie bereits auseinander. Er sagt, in einem Monat haben wir eigene Energiewaffen einsatzbereit, seine Stimme wird leiser. Die Opferzahlen steigen noch, aber wir haben standgehalten. Wir haben standgehalten. Park blickt auf den Bildschirm, der die gezeichnete, aber lebendige Erde zeigt. Städte können wieder aufgebaut werden, die Toten wird man betrauern, aber die Menschheit hat der Galaxie etwas Preisloses gegeben, den Beweis, dass der Rat verlieren kann. Verfassen Sie eine letzte Nachricht an den Galaktischen Rat, sagt Park. Halten wir es einfach an den Galaktischen Rat. Vielen Dank, dass Sie uns genau gezeigt haben, wie man sie besiegt. Wir teilen diese Lektion gerade mit jedem. In Liebe, die Erde. 6 Jahre nach der Schlacht von Luna. Die Allianz der freien Welten tritt in dem Raum zusammen, der einst Toknals Thronsaal war. Das erbeutete Schlachtschiff dient nun als Hauptquartier der Revolution. 7 Spezies sitzen am Tisch, jede von ihnen hat den Sieg der Erde studiert und eigenen Mut gefunden. Park spricht vor der Versammlung und stellt fest, wie jede Spezies die menschlichen Taktiken unterschiedlich angewandt hat. Die Hegemonie nutzte ihr Kollektivbewusstsein für perfekte Hinterhalte, die Kawa verwandelten ihre natürliche Tarnung in Vorteile für Enterkommandos, die Scheldech bauten ihre Asteroidenbergbaugeräte zu Waffenplattformen um. Die Warnung des Rats sollte uns vor Angst lähmen, sagt Park. Stattdessen wurde sie zu unserer Ausbildung. Sie zeigten uns ihre Stärken in dem Glauben, wir würden Unbesiegbarkeit sehen. Wir sahen Schwächen, die als Vorteile getarnt waren. Hinter ihm zeigt das Hauptdisplay den Zustand der Galaxie. Rot markiert Systeme in Revolte, blau steht für erfolgreiche Befreiungen. Das Imperium des Rats schrumpft täglich. Jede Erfolgsmeldung inspiriert die nächste. Die Lektion der Perspektive. In seiner Zelle an Bord des menschlichen Schlachtkreuzers Stalingrad sitzt Toknal in seiner Niederlage. Sein Rang wurde ihm aberkannt, seine Flotte ist zerstreut, sein Imperium zerfällt. Die Wachen sind höflich, professionell distanziert im Sieg. Sie bringen ihm Essen, Wasser und Videos, immer wieder Videos. Die heutige Auswahl zeigt die Befreiung der Pentari. Eine Spezies, die sich vor 3 Jahrhunderten der Herrschaft des Rats unterworfen hatte, ist nun frei. Sie nutzten menschliche Railgun-Designs, angepasst an ihre Kristalltechnologie. Ihre Jäger nutzten dieselben Totenwinkel aus, die Mitchells Marines entdeckt hatten. Major Mitchell tritt mit einem Tablet in der Hand ein. Ich dachte, das wollen Sie sehen, Commander. Die Fahrt haben gerade einen Radkreuzer erledigt, indem sie ihre eigene Apex-Formation gegen sie verwendet haben. Es stellt sich heraus, wenn man weiß, wo die blinden Flecken entstehen, er zuckt die Achseln. Sie wissen besser als ich, warum. Warum zeigen Sie mir das, fragt Toknal. Aus demselben Grund, aus dem ihr uns diese Warnung geschickt habt, Mitchell zieht sich einen Stuhl heran und setzt sich lässig hin. Bildung. Seht ihr habt uns gelehrt, dass man den Geist von jemandem brechen kann, wenn man ihm seine Zerstörung zeigt. Jetzt lehren wir euch etwas anderes, dass man ein Imperium brechen kann, wenn man ihm seine Fehler zeigt. Mitchell steht auf, um zu gehen. Ihre Warnung hat uns erschaffen, Commander. Jede Spezies, die um ihre Freiheit kämpft, hat von dem gelernt, was sie die Erde gelehrt haben. In gewisser Weise sind sie also der Vater der Revolution. Wieder allein erkennt Tocquenal die Wahrheit. 4000 Jahre militärischer Dominanz endeten nicht durch überlegene Waffen oder größere Flotten, sondern durch den einfachen Akt, den Feinden zu zeigen, wie man kämpft. Die Warnung des Rats hallt noch immer durch die Galaxie, aber jetzt trägt sie eine andere Botschaft. Nicht die einer unvermeidlichen Niederlage, sondern die eines möglichen Sieges. 10 Jahre nach dem Erstkontakt. Park steht auf dem Beobachtungsdeck des umbenannten Schiffes Remember Beijing. Die Narben der Erde heilen langsam. Die Menschheit blickt nun nach außen, als Teil einer größeren Gemeinschaft. Die Allianz der freien Welten umfasst 30 Systeme und wächst weiter. Colonel, nähert sich sein Adjutant. Die Kafari-Delegation ist eingetroffen. Sie bitten um Zugang zu unseren Kampfaufzeichnungen von der Belagerung von Titan. Gewährt, sagt Park, während er auf die Erde hinabblickt. Vollen Zugang zu allem, was wir durch das Beispiel des Rats gelernt haben. Wissen darüber, wie man kämpft, sollte niemals gehortet werden. Auf seinem Schreibtisch steht eine einfache Plakette mit dem Motto der Erdfreitstreitkräfte, von der Warnung zur Weisheit. Darunter hängt die gerahmte, ursprüngliche Dankesnotiz an den Rat. Volkhof tritt ein, mit Wodka und guten Nachrichten im Gepäck. Wir haben Ihren FTL-Antrieb geknackt. Es stellt sich heraus, dass dieselbe Frequenzanfälligkeit auch bei Ihren Motoren funktioniert. Geben Sie uns 6 Monate, und wir haben Schiffe, die mit Ihrem Tempo mithalten können. Er schenkt ein. Die neuesten Geheimdienstberichte sagen, der Rat hat sich in seine Kernsysteme zurückgezogen. 15 Mitgliedsspezies haben ihre Unabhängigkeit erklärt. Ihr Warnprotokoll wurde offiziell eingestellt. Sie lernen gerade, die Gewarnten zu fürchten. Park hebt sein Glas. Auf den Rat. Dafür, dass er uns alles beigebracht hat, was wir wissen mussten. Dafür, dass er so dumm war. Sie trinken auf die Rettung der Erde, geboren aus der seltsamsten Waffe der Menschheit, der Fähigkeit, eine Bedrohung als Geschenk, eine Warnung als Handbuch und den sicheren Untergang als ein lösbares Problem zu betrachten. In den Tiefen des Alls schrumpft das Imperium des Galaktischen Rats. Auf 1000 Welten studieren Spezies das Geschenk der Erde. Alles nur, weil eine Spezies die Kühnheit besaß, Danke zu sagen und es auch so meinte.